Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you know when live we go. There is an article in today's The Hindu. SEWA, pioneered by Elaben, was innovative experiment. Elaben Bhatt, there has been sad demise of her on 2nd November. She was a pioneering personality in the post-independent India. She was awarded by Padam Bhushan, Magsaysay Award, Indira Gandhi Sadbhavna Award. She was member of Planning Commission. She was also member of 2nd Labour Commission of Government of India. But she perhaps is best known and will be remembered for founding SEWA, Self-Employed Women's Association. SEWA is considered to be a very innovative and successful experiment in India in the field of social development. We will take up this topic from the perspective of GS Paper 1 and GS Paper 2. In GS Paper 1 in the syllabus of society, you will find this topic, Role of Women and Women's Organization. You also have mention of social empowerment, and implicit in this, there is women empowerment. We will also cover the topic of SEWA from the perspective of GS Paper 2, where you have mention of SHGs. See, SEWA or Self-Employed Women's Association is a member-based organization of women workers. Presently, it has around 1.9 million members. It is the largest organization in the world for working women. In India, it is spread across 18 states. And currently, the function of SEWA surpasses the national boundary. It is operational in 7 other countries: Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. SEWA as such is the largest organization for informal workers in the world. SEWA was founded by Elaben Bhatt in 1972. It was founded as a branch of Textile Labour Association. You must know that the Textile Labour Association was a labour union that was founded by Gandhiji in 1918. 2/3 of all SEWA's members are informal workers, and 80% of them are in rural region. Their main occupation being agriculture, animal husbandry, and small-scale industries. And this is very significant if you look from the context of the recent CMI data, Center for Monitoring Indian Economy. CMI data for the first quarter of 2022 tells us that female labor force participation in rural region is only around 9.9%, and the male labor force participation rate in rural region is around 67%. It clearly shows that there are several barriers that women face to participate in economy, and as a result of that, they suffer socially and politically. There is a huge problem of illiteracy among women in rural region. Employment opportunity is very limited. There's a problem of migration of male population, due to which the burden comes more on women. Females in rural region, they are more vulnerable for natural disasters, also for slow onset disasters like droughts. And there is also a psychological barrier that hinders integration with the outsiders. With this background, it will be very interesting to see what strategies SEWA adopted for self-reliance of women, especially in the rural region. The strategy of SHG for self-reliance of women, especially in rural region, can be divided into 6 components. Number 1 is asset creation. For asset creation, it is important that women are organized into cooperatives. And hence there is a necessity of SHG for effective asset creation. In SHGs, there will be opportunities for strengthening women's skill and capabilities that must result in capital formation, first at the household level and then at the enterprise level. Once they have learned the skill and the capability for effective capital formation, then the goal is to convert them into managers running the enterprises. Apart from strengthening the SHGs, cooperatives, organizations internally, SEWA also took up the task for external support and creation of amenable conditions, and for that purpose, advocacy and alliances is an important area of work for SEWA. SEWA recognized that the fundamental barrier the women members are facing is the lack of asset under their name, and that often forces them into a debt trap, leaving them poor and marginalized. Hence, SEWA views asset creation at individual level through some tailored saving products as the first essential step to strengthen its members' livelihood and credit worthiness. Increasing their credit worthiness will allow them to repay the debt It will enable them to have some income flows. It will give them resilience against some external economic shock. So, empowerment begins from economic empowerment, financial inclusion. So, as viewed from the lens of SEWA, the strategy to make women self reliant, the strategy to really empower them begins from asset creation in the name of women. And to mobilize this process of asset creation, the principal activity carried out by SEWA is to organize women to achieve collective strength that will give them bargaining power and greater productivity. So, organizing women into cooperatives, into self help groups, that is the prime activity of SEWA. Since 1990s, SEWA has created more than 13,000 SHGs, and that has helped the households to access credit products, which is extremely important for starting any micro enterprise or maybe investing in some kind of new equipment. It also helped them to free themselves up from exploitative loans by the local money lenders. Organization into cooperatives, into self help groups is essential not only for financial self reliance, it is also essential for skill and capability development that will ultimately be required for capital formation and then for enterprise formation. In cooperatives, in groups, women get the opportunity to get financial literacy, business management skills, capability to analyze the market, and to learn new agricultural techniques to be able to adopt new technologies into the agriculture practices. Elaben firmly believed that for any sustainable and rewarding employment, women must get involved in participation in the process of production, consumption, and distribution. So, to get involved in the entire supply chain, they have to be educated and skilled and experienced and appealing. So, this capability and skill development requires an ecosystem, and these SHGs and cooperatives provide that ecosystem. And as the next step, SEWA encourages capital formation, first at the household level, then at the enterprise level. Capital formation can come both from saving and credit. At household level, there must be enough saving to meet the capital for health, education, and other consumption expenditures. Savings at household levels by women also give them autonomy at the household level, autonomy in making financial and other household decisions. And at the enterprise level, either by their saving or by credit, they must be able to initiate new business or to expand the existing one. With regard to credit, there's very important element in the entire working of SEWA. That institution is SEWA Bank. SEWA Bank was the first bank to cater to the financial needs of illiterate, marginalized, self-employed women in India. It was really a pioneering model for women's microfinance. This model already has been replicated in many other countries. In 1996, it was given a status equal to that of other national banks in India. The performance of the bank has been very impressive. Ever since it was started, it had 96% recovery rate. With the ability of capital formation, the aim of SEWA is to turn the women of SHGs into autonomous owners and managers of business activities. And to facilitate this, SEWA has economic structures managed by women. There are many cooperatives that link the SHGs to state level associations like Kutch Craft Association. Institutional support is given to SHGs in terms of management training, technical capacity building. There is one major support mechanism in SEWA that is called as SEWA Trade Facilitation Center, which markets the products of SEWA enterprises and producers group at the village level. The enterprise formation of SEWA is guided by one principle propounded by Elaben Bhatt, the founder of SEWA. That principle is 100-mile principle. It is in line with the Gandhian concept of self-sufficient villages. The idea is to produce products and services primary to life, and these products and services must be solely produced within a radius of 100 miles. These products and services must be demand driven. They must be consumed by the people around the region, and in the context of SEWA, they must be produced and distributed by women as well. This 100-mile principle is essential to convert the SHGs into enterprises. SEWA has been very active to promote the policies and advocate reforms in Indian labor laws, especially related to informal economy. SEWA Bank actually had to struggle a lot to open branches of cooperative banks. And in that experience of making SEWA Bank functional, SEWA as an organization learned how discriminatory laws and practices aggravate the poverty and hardship faced by the workers, especially women. So advocacy and alliances became essential part of overall functioning of SEWA. SEWA played very important role in designing programs incorporated in unorganized sectors like Unorganized Workers Social Security Act of 2009. One of the crucial programs within Unorganized Workers Social Security Act of 2009 is Rashtra Swasth Bima Yojana. Similarly, SEWA was campaigning for a long time for policy like National Policy for Urban Street Vendors, which was adopted in 2004. Apart from 100-mile principle, Elaben Bhatt also propounded another principle called as Grahini theory of international relations. Here she combined elements like elimination of poverty and deprivation as an essential requirement for establishing peace, a society free of violence, and the need to bring nature into the peace process. And hence focus to unorganized sector was brought in any negotiations that happens at international level for peace and security. This is the overarching strategy of SEWA to empower women. This is not just microfinancing, this is not just capability building, this is not just bringing laws and policies for the unorganized sector or the vulnerable section of a woman. It must have all the components to work. Let's take up another article from today's newspaper as Delhi gasps. Kejriwal says stubble burning major cause. See, India is one of the most polluted countries in the world, and the capital city Delhi is probably one of the most polluted city. Indian cities keep featuring in top 50 most polluted cities in the world, taking into consideration many parameters. The problem of air pollution, however, goes to severe level in Delhi and the adjoining region, the NCR region. And you would know India ranks last in the list of 180 countries in the Environmental Performance Index 2022. Will you believe that? We stand last in the list of 180 countries. Air pollution, both indoor and outdoor, is the second most serious risk factor for public health in the country according to WHO. The first most serious risk factor is malnutrition. In this article, we shall discuss what makes Delhi air pollution so severe compared to other countries and why specifically during winter it becomes worst. UPSC actually has asked a question on this before. In 2015, UPSC has asked in GS paper 1, mind you, not from the environment and ecology section of GS paper 3. This question was asked in GS paper 1. Mumbai, Delhi, and Kolkata are three mega cities of the country, but the air pollution is much more serious problem in Delhi as compared to other two. Why is this so? The answer to this question largely lies in the placement of discussion in GS paper 1 in the geography section. It is to do with the geographical location of Delhi. If we look at the factors of air pollution in Delhi, we can broadly categorize them into natural factors, anthropogenic factors, although paddy stubble burning is also an anthropogenic factor, but since there is too much focus on this factor, so we shall see this separately. And there are other administrative factors related to policy, legislations, and administrative steps. If we talk about the natural factors, the geographical factor related to Delhi, you understand Delhi is a landlocked city. So the northwest wind that becomes dominant after the retrieval of monsoon, they bring dust, sometimes dust storm from Afghanistan, Pakistan, and the region of Rajasthan. But the escape route is blocked because of Himalayas. Like Mumbai and Kolkata, there is no offshore wind. So Delhi does not have the geographical advantage that eastern, western, and southern part of the country enjoy, where the sea breeze disperses the concentrated pollutants. You would know that Chennai has the third highest number of automobiles in India, but air pollution in Chennai is not a serious factor at all because of the coastal location of the city. Another very important factor for aggravation of air pollution problem with the onset of October is northwesterly winds in Delhi. As we have already seen here, after the withdrawal of monsoon from the month of October, there is arrival of northwesterly winds. which paves the way for northeast monsoon later. This is the pattern of wind belt over the northern region of Delhi in the month of October-November. As per the National Physical Laboratory, 72% of the wind in Delhi in winter comes from northwest, and remaining 28% comes from the Indo-Gangetic plains. Sometimes these northwesterly winds they bring storms from far off places, from as far as Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait, and that happened. And severe dust storm has happened in 2017 for this very reason. Then there are some other natural factors that increases the problem of air pollution in Delhi, like low level of temperature inversion. You understand from your basic knowledge of geography, as you move up in the troposphere, temperature decreases. Lower the temperature, the denser is the wind. Because the atmosphere gets heated from the surface, so the surface wind temperature is more. And higher the temperature, less dense is the wind. Therefore, the lighter it is. So normally the air mass near the surface, they are lighter. So obviously they will rise up. And the air mass at the top of the troposphere, they are cooler, they are denser, so they will sink down. So this causes a natural mixing of the wind. So pollution because of vehicles, because of industries, chimneys and household pollutions, they pollute the air, but because of mixing of air, the pollution level is kept naturally in check. But you see, sometime what happens, this natural lapse of temperature in troposphere, which is around 6.5 degrees Celsius for every 1000 meter, this does not happen. So the reverse of it happens. The temperature near the surface is less, and as you move up, the temperature increases. So the air mass near the surface, that is cooler, hence heavier, and the air mass at the top is warmer, hence lighter. When the lighter air mass will sit at top of denser air mass, there is no instability. And the system of these air masses, lighter one stacked over the heavier one, will remain stable for a very long period of time. So there is no rise of lighter air mass and sinking down of heavier air mass. So this natural mixing process is absent. And this will become a major contributing factor for higher level of air pollution. You also understand that the wind speed during winter decreases because of weakening of pressure belts. Reduced wind speed means that all these factors will be strengthened. There was a study commissioned by Delhi government in 2016, and that study highlighted that the urban dust, the road dust, the dust coming from the construction sector, demolition dust, they are the most prominent polluter of air in Delhi. They contribute 56% of particulate matter 10, and the dominant portion of this come from road dust, contributing 28%. And road dust also contribute largely the particulate matter 2.5, which is more hazardous for health. After the dust coming from construction sector, demolition, dust emanating from road, the second highest contributor according to that study of Delhi government is automobile pollution. Automobiles contribute around 20% of particulate matter 2.5 and around 10% of particulate matter 10. The per capita registration of high emission vehicles is highest in Delhi. There are around 100 coal thermal power plants. In the immediate around 300-kilometer periphery of Delhi, there are many industrial point sources. There are many food and fertilizer industries. They emit very deadly acid vapors. There are many expressways crossing through Delhi that aggravates the vehicular pollution problem in Delhi. Then there are problems of open burning of waste in the neighborhood and also by municipalities. Although we do not have exact data on firecrackers, but Supreme Court has taken cognizance of the problem and firecrackers has been banned except for the green crackers by the Supreme Court. There is a question of paddy stubble burning. After the rice harvest, the residue are burned in situ in the field. This causes emission of toxic pollutants like methane, carbon monoxide. There are many volatile organic compounds coming out of it. The simple question is why farmers do it? There are many reasons for it. First of all, farmers are in a hurry. There are around 20 days of window that the farmers get after harvest and preparing the field for sowing of the next season. So the easiest way to get rid of the crop residue is to burn it on the field. There is also some belief system that increases the fertility of the soil. And the residue cannot be used as feed for animals because the silica content is very high. The supply chain for collecting of the residue to be used in preparation of biogases is also not developed so much. So what to do? Let's burn it up. But that's not all. Government policy is also responsible for this. There's a state legislation of Punjab called as Punjab Preservation of Subsoil Water Act of 2009. Punjab Preservation of Subsoil Water Act of 2009. The aim was to arrest the Punjab's falling groundwater table. So it banned farmers from transplanting rice in fields before June. The idea was that they shouldn't be pumping groundwater and rely more on the monsoon rain for the supply of water in the field. Now, late sowing would mean late harvest. Late harvest of the rice crop leaves farmers with very little time to get their field ready for the next cropping season. So, this has led to this. Now, second question is, what is the contribution of paddy stubble burning in Punjab, Haryana, Western Uttar Pradesh in air pollution condition of Delhi? Well, we do not know for sure. There is no study in the public domain which is reliable coming from the government that gives us some objective data. However, there is an affidavit that central government submitted in the Supreme Court in 2021. There, the government said that stubble or the crop residue burning contributed only 4% of air pollution in Delhi during winter season and 7% during summer season. However, another section of the same affidavit said that the paddy stubble burning contributed 35 to 40% of particulate matter pollution, both 2.5 and 10. This data some media houses has reported because this data of affidavit is not to be known to general people. So the data is not public. But the thing here is you cannot be giving one data without specifying the duration of study. Because depending upon the geographical condition of the wind strength, the wind direction, the temperature inversion in the atmosphere, and the gradient of temperature inversion, all these factors will decide the contribution of Punjab, Haryana, and Western Uttar Pradesh or any other region in the air pollution of Delhi. So the data doesn't mean anything unless you specify the duration of the study. There are other ecological experts who suggest that this contribution of paddy stubble burning in the air pollution of Delhi during the peak time could be as high as 40%. But that is during peak time. Many have taken the pictures from the facilities of ISRO to suggest that only 20% of air pollution is contributed by paddy field burning. 80% comes from the inherent nature of the city of Delhi, both geographical and anthropological. There is an editorial article today on remote voting. See, currently, Election Commission of India allows only enrolled overseas citizens of India to vote in person at the polling booths in their respective constituency. If the overseas citizen of India has already been registered, then they can vote but in person. If they have not been registered, by ordinarily staying abroad, they cannot register as a voter. In 2014, a committee constituted by Election Commission of India to probe into the possibility to enable overseas citizens of India to vote. That committee concluded that proxy voting is viable, must be adopted. For the same, a bill was passed in the 16th Lok Sabha, but then it lapsed. In 2020, Election Commission of India approached the government to permit NRIs to vote via postal ballots on the same line as service voters. The officials of the government, if they are on offshore duty, then they can vote through postal ballot. But NRIs and overseas citizens of India presently cannot. Now it is up to the government to decide on the matter, and we'll discuss the pros and cons of this as and when the final decision is taken. For today, let's have a small discussion on overseas citizens of India.
First of all, there is no constitutional provision directly mentioning about overseas citizens of India. Citizenship in Indian Constitution, as you would know, has been dealt from Article 5 through Article 11. However, this part only identifies the persons who became citizens of India on the commencement of the Constitution. But this part also empowers the Parliament to enact a law concerning the matter of citizenship. And accordingly, the Parliament enacted Citizenship Act 1955. And in 2005, this act was amended and provision related with overseas citizens of India were inserted under Section 7A. Then in 2015, the category person of Indian origin and overseas citizen of India were merged. The basic point of creating a category overseas citizen of India was to meet the demand of many Indian diaspora of dual citizenship. But India, as you would know, has no provision of dual citizenship. But to engage Indian diaspora and benefit mutually, we came up with the concept of overseas citizen of India and made available to them many rights that are enjoyed by Indian citizens. Section 7A of Citizenship Act 1955 gives the criteria, the conditions which have to be fulfilled for a person to get OCI card. And those conditions are very broad. Any person who is citizen of any other country but was a citizen of India at the time of or at any later time after the commencement of constitution can apply for OCI card. Similarly, any person who is citizen of another country but was eligible to become a citizen of India at the time of commencement of constitution. Similarly, any person who is presently citizen of another country but belonged to a territory that became part of India after 15th August 1947. Or any person who is a child or a grandchild of above mentioned people. But there is a rider. If the applicant for the OCI card had ever been citizen of Pakistan or Bangladesh, then he or she will not be eligible to be registered as OCI. Being OCI entails many rights. First of all, the person will have multiple entry, multi-purpose, lifelong visa, allowing them to visit India at any point in time for any length of time for any purpose. But remember, they need a visa because they are not citizen of India. At all Indian international airports, OCI card holders are provided with special immigration counters and they are exempted from police reporting as generally the immigrants are required to. And if a person has been registered as OCI for a period of 5 years, then he or she is eligible to apply for Indian citizenship. OCI card holders can open special bank account and hence they can also have permanent account number card, PAN card. They can buy any non-farm property in India. They can exercise the ownership right on such property. In fact, the OCI card holders have all the economic, financial and educational rights as Indian citizens. But they cannot have agricultural or plantation properties. Also, very important to remember, OCI card holders cannot exercise voting right in India. They are not the voters under Representation of People Act 1951. They can also not hold any employment under Government of India. They cannot hold any constitutional office. They cannot be president, vice president, prime minister. They cannot be MP, MLA, nothing. And they need permission to go to restricted areas. Compared to overseas citizen of India, NRIs have lot many rights. Because NRIs, remember, are actually citizens of India. They are non-resident Indian. NRI is any person who is holding Indian passport but ordinarily spends most of the time overseas. NRI virtually enjoys all the benefits given to Indian citizen, unless some things are mentioned by notification by Ministry of Home Affairs. So NRIs will have full voting rights. Overseas citizen of India does not have voting rights. NRIs can stand for public office, they can purchase agricultural land and they can conduct research work without any prior permission. These things cannot be done by overseas citizen of India. So these are the things that you must remember regarding OCI and also NRI.
There is an article on the first page, all employees can opt for EPFO pension scheme. This is the ruling of the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has used its extraordinary power under Article 142 to allow eligible members who had not opted for enhanced pension coverage prior to 2014 amendment. Supreme Court has struck down the monthly salary requirement of Rs 15,000. The court has suspended this provision to be implemented for next 6 months. The Labour Ministry has reported that it is still studying the judgment of the Supreme Court. And after study of the judgment, they will come up with a detailed guidelines for the staff and the employers on implementation of the verdict. When the guideline from the Labour Ministry comes up, then we will take up the discussion on the judgment. But for today, I'll give you the references for basics on EPFO pension scheme and more importantly, a discussion of Article 142. This was done by Mangal sir on 19th of May. If you want to brush up the power of Supreme Court under Article 142 to bring in complete justice, please go through this DNS of 19th of May 2022.